It's 4:30, so I'm gonna call to order the March 25th
Okay,
Board of Directors meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. And ask you all to rise and join me in saluting the flag.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Assistant Secretary Uten, would you?
I'll have to try. Please bow your head and follow me. Let's see. God, grant me the wisdom to help the community in our deliberations tonight. Have safe travel to all the people that are headed this way or wherever they're headed. Amen.
And Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Vice Secretary Robert Uten,
Here.
Secretary Arthur Perry,
Here.
Vice President Arlene Schaefer, here, President Mike Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. What communications?
No, Mr. President.
Nothing? Any ceremonial matters? Then we'll move to public comments. This is the time set aside for persons in the audience to make comments, items within our subject matter, and that are not listed on the agenda. Members of the public have the opportunity to address the board and will be, under the provisions of the Brown Act, the Board of Directors is prohibited from taking action on any items, and the Board of Directors will respond after public comments have been received. Please state your name. Each speaker will be limited to 4 continuous minutes. Anybody from the public wishing to speak? Did you get the little green? Just after you speak, would you mind filling one out for the clerk? Thank you. And would I have you go to the microphone?
Thank you for allowing me to address you again. My name is Karen Millard. Mr. Carroll and I were scheduled for small claims court after I spoke at the last board meeting. I dismissed that case to keep my legal options open and to increase monetary damages that I will seek in court. However, I am here because I believe it's in everyone's best interest to keep my claim out of court. And the board deadlocked on a 2-2 vote last meeting. And I was prevented from a positively affirmative decision because Mr. Eccles wasn't present to cast his vote. I will recap my claim. CMSD charged my property a 2-unit rate for 2 decades when there was just one small house and a detached garage with no plumbing or electricity. The overcharge was impossible to detect all these years because CMSD sends no statements for service, no explanation of charges on the tax bill, and the County of Orange and the Orange County Sanitation District has my property properly classified as a single-family home. I'm asking for a refund of $6,000 in overcharges. Given that CMSD has been honored with the Government Finance Officers Association Triple Crown Award, I'm certain you will want to rectify this error on your books. If you deny my refund, I will proceed with a civil lawsuit with legal representation, and I'm just indignant enough to do it. And I will see the case to the end. We will be asking not just for a refund of overpayments, but interest and an award of attorney fees, which will likely be several multiples larger than the refund that I'm seeking. We will also ask the judge to order CMSD to inform customers of the number of units that they're being charged and to send regular billing statements so that no customer is ever unknowingly defrauded again as I have been. Doing so will certainly reveal more overcharged customers. As well, I am in contact with attorneys regarding a potential class action lawsuit against CMSD for unfair and improper billing practices, wherein I would represent CMSD customers as the class representative. In addition to all of their costs and fees, CMSD will incur the cost of legal defense, which will be far more than what I'm asking for tonight. Frankly, I am disgusted that you would rather keep my money that you have no right to for a service that you didn't provide. And isn't that really what is at issue here? CMSD has a core value to act ethically and honestly. If you aren't going to refund a customer you have overcharged for 2 decades, then when is this core value applicable? I am not someone who fell down an uncovered manhole 20 years ago and is now suing for injuries, and I am insulted that you treat me this way. It is so unprofessional to run from your accounting errors. You know that I have presented a legitimate claim of well-concealed overcharges. Many of your operations codes would have prevented you from overcharging me, such as customers will pay their fair and proportionate cost of services provided, or the charge imposed on any parcel doesn't exceed the cost of the service to the parcel, or the charge is not imposed unless the service is actually used by the owner of the property. Furthermore, errors can occur that would justify providing a refund for amounts that the board might determine were improperly assessed. Mr. Carroll and Ms. Tran have already determined that my house was improperly assessed, and one can only conclude from that code that amounts improperly assessed are subject to a full refund. What about the district shall comply with all generally accepted accounting principles? GAAP directs overpayments to be refunded to customers. You do not follow your own operations codes and you violate your own covenant to act ethically and honestly. It's very concerning that CMSD's property information doesn't match County of Orange records and Orange County Sanitation District. That should be the first audit. There are easy audits that can be done. Possibly CMSD doesn't want to know if there's overcharges and doesn't want customers to know how to check charges because it's advantageous to do the billing this way. If I were you, I would not want to have to defend your lack of transparency in your billing practices in court. This is not a burdensome sum for the district to refund. This is a lot of money to me, the customer, to have been defrauded. I'm ready to go to court if I have to, but I'm hopeful you will recognize that I have already offered to cede interest on this money, which is 3 times the amount I'm asking for. And you have benefited from a 20-year interest-free loan, and that it is in everyone's interest to resolve this claim tonight. Once again, I respectfully ask you to do the right thing and refund what you have overcharged. Thank you.
As you know, Mr. President, this is not on the agenda.
Yeah,
My
there's,
knowledge.
there's no decision that can be made this evening because it's based on the Brown Act where it's not on our agenda. I would ask that staff and council possibly prepare a closed session item for the next board meeting on this matter. Can we do that?
Certainly.
Does it have to be a closed session or can it be open
You
session?
can do a closed session, then you can come back out into open session, have an open session. You can have an open session first, followed by a closed session.
I'm simply asking for closed session because of potential litigation, right? That's the only reason I would want it to go to closed session for discussion.
There'll always be a time when we come back out into open session, so
Correct.
there'll be.
Bob?
Is it, can we put it, can we revise the agenda? Is the only way we can revise the agenda if this is an emergency action required?
Yes, there'd have to be a need that rose after the agenda was prepared that did not come to our attention until, and there has to be a need to act tonight on it. They can't wait.
We were aware that there was no small claims court action. I for one would like to see this matter resolved sooner than later. And is the only way what President Schaefer asked for?
Yes, well, no, you could have an open discussion. You could waive your right to attorney-client confidentiality. You could have
I mean, timing wise.
yeah, timing wise, yes, because the need, this didn't arise since the agenda was prepared. This was in the works already, and there's not a need to take immediate action tonight. So if the Attorney General were to sue us for violating the Brown Act,
Can be put on the study session?
put on, yeah, sure, certainly.
If we agendize it and call it as a need for action, we can do that.
Yeah, I think we can.
Study session's okay with me. I mean, anybody else have a problem with that? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we could have a closed session and put it at the immediate next open meeting, whether it's a study or a board, and we can, based on study session with council, do what we need to do from there in an open session. So that's, I mean, at worst, maybe a month, I mean, is what I'm thinking.
Well, at worst, it'd be a month at the next board meeting.
Right.
Study session's roughly 3 weeks away,
Right. So.
so roughly a month.
Yeah,
I got
I'd
you.
go along with that.
Direction, then you guys have direction?
No, I'm sorry, I just need more clarity. So you want to bring this item back on a study session agenda?
I'm sorry, Scott. Yeah, we would like to bring this back for a closed session discussion at our study session on April 13th, I believe. Is that right?
April 8th.
Oh, that's right, the first. April 9th. Okay,
On Tuesday.
I need me to consult with our attorney, to see if he's available on April 9th.
okay.
So then after the closed session, then you want to come back to the regular board meeting, have an open session on this item? Or wait till after the,
At the same meeting, yeah. And Ms. Millard will be notified that we're having that.
yes, so April 9th is when you'll discuss the item. Okay, so, very good.
Okay,
So just to clarify, I'm going to be coming back to your April 9th meeting.
we are going to discuss it at the April 9th meeting. Whether you decide to come back or not is up to you. So
So then that would be a close. That would be open to the public.
we will have a discussion whenever we have legal issues, we have the right and we have the duty actually to go into closed session, which is conference with our attorney. And then we will come back out and discuss in open meeting results or non-results. That's the best I can phrase it.
Then there'd be an open session another week from, or a couple of weeks from there.
There would be another
You're
one
gonna have, you were gonna then have a meeting, were you gonna have a meeting at the regular board meeting or not?
at the, no, at the study. We want to take care of the whole matter at the closed session, excuse me, at the study session. So closed session and then open session discussion after that. Okay,
Then I'll return April 9th. And will the meeting be at the same time as this meeting?
no, it's April 9th at 8:30 in the morning,
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock in the morning.
O'clock in the morning.
That's when we hold our study session. And don't forget the green car. I think they're back there. Yeah, it just. Thank you. Okay, consent calendar, let's move the consent calendar. There's no other
I'll
public
move for
comment.
approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. General Manager's report then, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Diana Wojcicki will be giving this report.
Good evening, Mr. President and Board. On September 26, 2022, the Board of Directors approved creating a policy ad hoc committee. The purpose was to review district policies and ordinances and to make any necessary revisions to ensure that the documents were up to date with existing laws and district procedures. At the Board of Directors meeting on January 22nd, 2024, the board adopted resolutions approving the revisions to the district's administrative policies, employee handbook, Board of Directors procedure handbook, and Citizens Advisory Committee handbook. The operations code is the final policy handbook to be approved by the board. The operations code consists of ordinances adopted by the Board of Directors that pertain to the ongoing operation of the district. It serves as a reference of the district's laws for staff and for the public. Revisions have been made where necessary to ensure the documents were up to date with existing laws and district procedures. Legal counsel has reviewed and added necessary changes. And staff is recommending that the Board of Directors adopt ordinance number 138, revised operations code in its entirety. The operations code with the markups is in the staff report, along with the clean copy of the changes.
have some discussion, questions? Anything on the operations? code?
Mr. President, just so we're clear, there was 7 errata sheets. There are also going to be some tune-ups we're going to make that are attached to the ordinance or little typos we found in the final reading.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the matter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you for your hard work, all of you. Item 2,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Nolani Midway will be giving this report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The nomination period and appointment process for the Orange County LAFCO regular special district member seat is now open. Nominations for this seat are available from March 11th to April 15th, and the term will be the current term for this seat expires June 30th of 2024. So OC LAFCO is seeking a declaration of qualification to vote on behalf of the district. And normally that is appointed to the board president. So right now we're just seeking authorization for President Schaefer to vote on behalf of the district. And if there are any nominations, to go ahead and identify that as well. But you have until April 15th to do so. So if you had nominations at the study session, then you can present them then.
Have any nominations in front of us yet?
The only one that I've seen is Jim Fissler. But we're waiting to see if there are any other candidates that come forward, and we'll present those to you as they come. To submit the vote on behalf of the district once the board has
what's the board?
provided
Yeah,
nominations.
I'm not gonna vote on that. I'm more than willing to let all of you decide. So,
So
go ahead.
at the risk, that was kind of my question. Obviously, authority's fine, but yeah, so we at some point will review 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nominees, and then we decide, and he just runs with said ballot.
Correct.
Question, when is the date that it's due?
The date for the nominations is April 15th. That's when the nominations are due, but the actual ballot will be available May 6th. And then we would need to submit that by June 10th.
So we're not going to approve a candidate on April 9th.
No.
I started to think, wait a minute, we're gonna vote on someone 6
No,
days
you can
before?
submit nominations for who you would like to have as a candidate for that seat by April 15th. And then we'll have between May 6th and June 10th to vote on those
Okay.
candidates.
So we can take a vote at the April or May board meeting.
Correct.
Either way. Okay,
So we don't know who's running?
just Director Fissler.
Just Director Fissler.
So far, but the candidate period just opened up.
And won't close until April 15th.
And this is for the private?
This is for essentially the ISDOC representative on LAFCO.
Yeah, but it's okay. What does he sit on there now? Isn't he vice president?
He's just, no, I don't know,
Board member,
just a board
commission
member.
member.
He's asking, you should have gotten an email from him.
I didn't.
We'll make sure you get that.
That's why I'm shocked.
No, we knew he was gonna run. Okay, so then you're looking for the board to appoint me as the one who signs the final ballot,
Correct.
essentially.
I need to identify that and send that to LAFCO so that they know that you will be submitting on behalf of the board.
Make a motion in that effect, if I get a second.
I'll second.
Discussion?
No hanging chads, right?
I'm looking at the approval. It's just, never, don't be. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 3,
Thank you, Mr. President. Gina Terriano will be giving this report.
really off the hook tonight, aren't you, bud? Gina, thank you.
Yes, good evening, members of the board. So this item is being brought back to you from the study session. These are our CAC applicants. Between the study session and today, we did receive one more application. So we currently have 8 positions to fill. We actually had another CAC member give up her post. So we have 8 applications and 8 positions to fill. So the only complication is that 6 of those 8 are going to be 2-year terms that go from 2024 to 2026, and the remaining 2 will end next year. So 2 of the applicants would only have a 1-year term, whereas the rest would have 2. So tonight, we're asking that you review the applications and let us know who you would like to appoint and for which of those terms.
Somehow I think I missed it, but which are the 2 candidates that would be 1-year terms? Do you know?
That would be up to the board to decide which 2.
Questions? Go ahead.
Are the existing CAC members, which I believe is, call it 5 of them, are they all in good standing, meaning attendance and all that's up to snuff? They've been regular participants?
I believe so, yes.
Great.
And we did include their, which districts they lived in based on the board's request.
Who's the
Thank
new
you.
person that came in?
Glassman.
So there's a few new
I know
people.
this last, today, I mean,
Oh, yes, it is Glassman. That was the most recent applicant.
what district?
Division 1.
Question. Was this proportioned out so that each district was represented, or it just happened that way?
We've never had a stipulation that we assigned a certain number to each division. It's just the way it's worked.
Happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it was pretty good that everyone had a say from each area.
Little heavy in my area, but people in my area are a lot smarter.
Your
Area 1.
area usually is,
A little
full
more
of
active.
enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's enthusiasm. That's a good way to put it, Brett. Essentially, we have 8 openings and we have 8 candidates.
Yeah,
Yes.
interesting.
We have applicants that have been here before, like Michael Tao.
Yes.
Is
we
there
did
anybody
have-
else that is coming in? with?
Yes, we have Rosemary Chora. She's another reapplicant, and also Dicky Fernandez. And Dean Fisher. Yes.
Vicky Fernandez. My suggestion, when I was looking at these, I thought Michael Tao, has he been on for 2 years already? So he could possibly be getting the 1 year. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Because we have 2 that are 1 years, right? Right? 2 people get 1 year. So I was
Correct, yes.
thinking, knowing Michael Tao, he's been on 2 years. He's a good board member. I thought he could get the 1 year. I don't know if anybody else had thought about
He's been on longer than 2 years though.
at least 2 years, I know.
He served one previous term from 2022 to
Just put the
2024.
number of fingers up. You want to put those fingers up again? And
Well, as long as it's not just the wrong finger.
So that,
I was watching.
Yeah.
but we definitely need to keep him because, you'd only have Cindy. So I was thinking, Michael, maybe 1 more year, because he can always apply again for the 2 year, right?
Correct.
You need to pick 1 more to be a 1 year.
Yes.
Well, I think Rosemary's been a big contributor. I think we keep her for 2 years myself. She's from my district. I don't know Paul Lancaster.
have a question.
No, go ahead.
Or go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Do they pick among themselves once they're allowed to? That who's president or who's in chair, who's chairing it?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So I think it'd be front of us. We need to look at 1 more person for the 1 year. Have you guys have any,
I mean, well, sorry. I would, and this isn't a joke, just due to President Schaefer, I mean, there's a lot of members from his district, maybe balance it because maybe we'll get someone in another year from, I don't know, District
good idea?
3 or 4, whatever. Maybe pick one of them and then I agree with you. The other one sounds good.
I would even see making both Dean Fisher and Mr. Glassman as the two 1 year, just so that hopefully we get some interest from others. I think that's a good thought.
Those two. I mean, I would go for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, does that mean, do we have any, I think before we start, we need to decide if all 8 of these are going to be appointed. Right?
I'd make a motion that all 8 of them be appointed.
And I would second, I mean, I went through their backgrounds and resumes. I even did a little social media search just to make sure, which is always good if someone posts something that might be different. So, all 8, I think, are qualified. And that's,
Okay, so we have a motion. We're going to take 2 motions, okay, on this, just for clarity.
Motion and say that Dean Fisher and Ben Glassman receive the 1 year.
Guess we're going to do this all in one motion, okay? Is that okay with you?
I agree with that second again.
All right.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you for the work on that also.
You need another motion.
No, because Bob amended it to name the 2 that we're going to be.
I mean, do we need a motion to approve the other 6? No, I need some. They combine.
It was all combined.
Okay, that's good.
Makes it easy.
There's no need, public comments. We have a member of this.
I didn't see any need for public eye. He's shaking his head.
Okay, just checking.
Well, he doesn't have a green. He doesn't have-
You fill out the little green thing. All right. Item 4, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll just keep the mic on for Gina. She's going to be doing this report as well.
I knew you were going to do that.
Okay, so item number 4 is a contribution application that we received from, let me make sure I get
Concerts in
their
the
name
Park.
right. Concerts in the Park from the Costa Mesa Foundation. They're requesting the same level of sponsorship that they do request pretty much every year from us, $2,500. And all of the included features are pretty much the same as every year as well. We would get a booth at the event, recognition at all the concerts, recognition in all the promotional materials, and on-site parking for our staff. As you can see, we have approved this for many years in the past, 2014 to 2019, and then 2022 to 2023 as well, skipping those few years from the pandemic.
We do 2,500 last year as well.
We did.
And I obviously, to me, we're doing the 2,500 level so that we can get that booth, which is probably as important as anything else we do there, right? Somebody gets preferred parking, it looks like, too.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So 1 year they had 3 nights. Is it 4 nights this year? Or do we know?
According to their application, they said at least 3 nights. It sounds like they're still debating whether they're going to be having an event on the 30th. So that's not clear. At least 3, maybe 4.
Given them the 2,500 when they only did have 3.
Yes, we have.
The questions, comments? Yeah.
I just think, this application has satisfied both the, 2 requirements about our visibility and, being in need, and especially with our upcoming changes in 3 carts and all this is, I mean, the fact that we have a booth, I think is critical. We have a presence, marketing material. I think we satisfy the board's policy on this sort of contribution.
This and the fish fry are the 2 events that we get the most bang for our visibility anyway, along with the compost giveaway, if we could ever have a place to do it, right? So yeah, I think we get a good value for this. Art, you have a question?
I think I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Usually I vote no, but I'm gonna go along with it this year.
We have a motion from someone?
Move approval.
I'll second that.
At the $2,500 level, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's fine, it's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimous.
Thank you.
You're probably gonna do the next one anyway, right?
And Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I have a request before we get into it. The next item, just out of the abundance of caution, I don't think there's an issue, but abundance of caution, I have volunteered for the event organizer and I've personally contributed some money to them. So I think it'd be best that I step out and recuse myself from this discussion.
Are you talking about the Love Costa Mesa one?
Yeah.
Counselor, is that okay?
Yes, Mr. President, this is not legally required, but he's doing it out of transparency and good government
Yeah, I
reasons.
appreciate that. sir.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Brett. All right, Gina, go ahead.
It's actually
Oh,
me.
that's you. You back. We're playing ping pong here.
Switching.
Madam Clerk, it's all yours.
The district has received a request for a contribution application to Trellis for the Love Costa Mesa citywide serve day on May 18th. They're requesting the amount of $3,000. And in lieu of that contribution, we would receive a booth at their thank you luncheon, which we did participate in last year. And we would also be advertised in their print material and on their website. And on their t-shirts, yes.
Last year was the first time they did this, I believe.
Mhm, right.
right?
Yeah.
That was the one where they did their projects and then they went to City Hall and
Yeah,
I know I was there.
I was too.
Arlene was there. Who else? We had several CAC members that were there. But I don't,
I think we had some lines.
we had the Lions, our Lions Club was there.
Yeah.
It seemed like our booth didn't have a lot of participation. I think Angela was there.
Angela and Marissa were there. It was actually Marissa's first event with the district.
That's
She
right.
was just
That's
new. And we were running our compost and our compost giveaway event that same day.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, can I say something? I think
Yes.
3,000 is too much for that one-day event. I would be more inclined to like $1,000 or, that's just me throwing this out because we haven't discussed it.
I was kind of going that same direction. I think 3,000 for something like this is too much money.
Actually, the last year's, we did donate 1,000 last year.
Yeah.
No, I think this, though, that does meet most of the criteria. It's kind of up to us to figure out a way to get people to come to the booths. I don't know if none of the booths were heavily attended.
People came there because there were 3 really good restaurants there. They got their food after doing their chores and then they left.
And they worked all morning.
Yeah, I think, concerts in the park, we've got thousands and thousands of people there. This is gonna have, they said 1,500 people. There's not 50, there weren't 1,500 people there last year. I'm more inclined like Art. I don't mind giving them $1,000 because we do get some interaction, but to me, 3,000's too high.
You have a recommendation? Because you were there. I mean, you had people.
I
that
was
were there.
not there, but staff was there and the attendance at the booth was relatively low. We were also offered to participate in OC San's 75th anniversary open house on the same day as well. So we would have to split staff to either attend one or the other or both events on the same day.
This year?
This year, yes.
Is the same time?
Remember the last time we did OC San, we had a lot of there were a lot of people there and obviously they weren't all from Costa Mesa, but there was some that said they were from Costa Mesa, so.
The OC San has 25-member board and
Yeah.
25 alternates.
Right.
So there were at least 50 people there, is that what you're saying?
In the food line, there were at least 50 there. No, I don't know what they're doing. I've just got notification that they're doing that. I think this is a worthwhile activity to support. We did do 1,000 last year. The 1,000 to 5,000 or 4,999 is called a contributor. We do get quite a bit of advertising. We get almost as much, so for that level of, we get almost all the print recommendation. I personally think, it's a worthwhile event to support. And,
Did we discuss 2,500?
They're asking for three. I thought it would be lower at 1,000. That's all that we've talked about for money.
we
And
get
if this
almost as
helps,
much.
board, we do have a budget of 1,875 remaining in the contribution bucket for the solid 1,875.
We've already exceeded that with,
With the 3,000 ask, yes, we've exceeded
No.
that.
I mean, we've already exceeded it with the concerts in the park. Or is
No.
that separate?
So we
That would
still,
be
if
separate.
we give them 1,000,
We
we still have
did?
800 left for other things that come in.
Yeah.
I would recommend
We
we
exceeded it?
give them 1,500.
I'm gonna make a substitute motion and say we give them $1,000.
I'll second the substitute motion.
Any other discussion on it? All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. For $1,000.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys, good work on it from everybody. This is the season for asking for money, isn't it? Something happening April 10th. I'd get a donation from somebody. Okay, we're back at full strength and we're gonna move to our district engineer.
Good evening, Board Chair. I've got 3 items tonight. The first item is my monthly report to you. I'm just going to point out 4 items and then I'll open it up to your questions. The project 327 calcium removal is almost finished. We have a few night work items that we're waiting for to do some work in major streets like Harbor. Project 330 is now out for rebid. It opens on the 24th of April, and I'll be bringing it to the May board meeting for award. The headquarters landscaping project has been completed. We're dealing with some punch list items and the contractor, and I'll probably bring that. I will probably bring that item back on in April to do a closeout. And then our Adams Avenue project starts tonight at 8 p.m. and we'll be working until 5 a.m. And then we return again tomorrow night at 8 p.m., work until 5 a.m. And then if we need a third night, we'll do the same thing, 8 a.m. up until no later than 5 a.m. Wednesday night, Thursday morning. And then all we have left to do is paving work, and that should happen in about 2 hours. And we'll do that during the day when we can coordinate that with the city of Costa Mesa. With that concludes my report. Are there any questions or is there any information? I will mention that the CIP budget item or budget report was also provided as part of this report.
Quick question, when are the 330 bids due? I mean, when's the ending date?
The bids will come into the district on April 24th. We will open bids that day. We'll summarize and put the bid register on our website, and then we'll bring an item before the May Board of Directors meeting to make an award.
Now, the stuff we're doing on Adams is all on the upper part of Adams, between Mesa Verde Drive and Mesa Verde Drive.
No, it's actually just east of the Santa Ana River near our Adams pump station.
Okay, that's that part of my question was gonna be what effect on the pump station?
Yeah.
I know Mesa Water has already been out doing some of their work on Adams, but they were working on the upper part closer to,
Yeah, I can't remember the exact limits. I don't have the limits in front of me, but it's more than just where we're at. And so they could be working all the way from the Santa Ana River. And I don't remember if they go to Mesa Verde or not, but I think they do, they might.
their stuff was
Yeah.
all up on top. We're not, what we're doing will all be completed tonight other than the paving. Is that what you said?
No, over the next 2, maybe 3 nights, we'll do all the sewer work and backfill work. The paving's the only thing that won't be done. We'll have to do that during the day.
When do we anticipate the city doing their work?
My understanding is they're awarding a project if they haven't already awarded it this week. And then, they'll probably do kickoff meeting and that type of stuff starting next week. So I think we'll be done. We'll be in time. We'll be in except for a couple hours worth of paving work, we'll be out of their way.
I'm not worried about us. I'm
Okay.
more worried about the cities actually taking asphalt out. They're not just slurry coating or.
Yeah, they're actually grinding 2 inches of the existing asphalt off and then they will be putting a 2-inch cap back on it. Or so, I mean, and there's more to it than that, but that is the biggest part of the project. And then my understanding is they'll be completely reworking the striping and bike lanes and things like that.
And they're gonna, 2 years, redo it.
Yeah, I kind of remember
Electrical
them
center
being said, yeah.
Mark, have we determined, are we pretty sure the water level is still the same as it was? It's just above the little pipeline repairs that you're doing? You've no new information.
No new information on the board we did about a month ago or 3 weeks ago. I wouldn't think it would be much higher than it is, but we've only received another inch or so of rain since that boring.
Speaking of water, to diverge a little bit, you know, the trouble we had out here on Paularino with the water. Friend of mine lives on Trinity Avenue, which is the first street past Bristol. And he had to have sewer line replaced, some work done. The contractor had a heck of a time getting it dry to do that. So that water's still there.
I believe it.
Yeah.
There's more, my understanding is groundwater up by South Coast Plaza north of the 405 freeway is about 10 feet below, 10 feet below ground level. So I could see depending on, by the Trinity, there's.
That's why lima beans grow so good in Costa Mesa.
Yes, so.
All right. Next item.
Yes, as you recall, last month I asked the board to delegate authority to the general manager so that in the event bids came in for the Adams Avenue number 138-307 grade 5 sewer replacement project was over 125,000 or more, we could make the award. Fortunately, bids ranged from $195,083 to the low of $95,500. And so I worked with the general manager to award the 95 to the low bidder, Torres Sanitation, for the $95,500. I believe no action other than receive and file this report because we told you we'd bring back an update of what the bids were and what was going on with that project. I think that's all that's required tonight is just to receive and file. But are there any questions I could answer about that bid and what's going on besides the discussion we've already had regarding Adams and the city work?
Questions for Mark? We've never used Torres before, have we?
Yes, we have on several projects. Up here you've awarded a project, or we awarded a project to them under the general manager authority to replace about 8 feet of sewer at Red Hill and Bear. And then we used them on American Avenue, and they've done other work for us since then.
I guess because they were under the Scott's purview. That's what I did. Okay, item 3.
Yes. since last month, we had a couple of urgent projects pop up. I have been working on Eldon fan replacement. And when I started working with RBH on what needed to be done to install the new fan, I realized that we're gonna have to rewire between the existing electrical meter and the backup pump station building and replace a small, I'll call it, low voltage transformer in there so that we can have enough power to put the new fan in. I guess when we originally installed that fan, we took up any remaining capacity. Unfortunately, that fan can no longer be used because it's not intrinsically safe. And to install the replacement fan, we're gonna have to do electrical upgrades. And so because of that, the project is probably gonna be somewhere between $80,000 and $86,000. And so I need to create a project 354, which will provide for replacing the existing fan with an intrinsically safe fan, and this will also improve the ventilation at the Eldon Pump Station. That old fan failed because it's just been beyond its useful life and just needed to be replaced. So that's that project. I'm asking for $110,000 for that project budget. That's not what the bids will likely come in at, but that's to include engineering and other things. The second project, Project 355, I call it South Coast Plaza Sewer Urgent Capital Repair. I'll be asking you to create a budget of $120,000. There's a failed 20-foot long sewer from a manhole to our South Coast Plaza pump station. There's a small hole, I say about 2/3 of the way, maybe 55% of the way into the pipeline from the manhole. And we're getting some minor water intrusion, but there's a second large hole that we're getting an awful lot of groundwater in. The actual pump station flow actually doubled when the leak started occurring. So it went from whatever it was, it's doubled. So we're pumping twice as much water through that station. We found it, we were working with South Coast Plaza, trying to find why the flow increased in our pump station. And they, for fun, decided to put their camera in our pipeline, and they found it and gave us a heads up that our pipe has an issue. The interesting part was back in October, there was a very large spill from our pump station. And it was resulted from, I'll say, a grease stoppage in that same pipeline. And we went back in October of last calendar year, and we cleaned out the pipe really well. When we put the camera in to see what contributed to the grease stoppage, we found 1, grease, and 2, quite a bit of corrosion. And we were beginning talks with South Coast Plaza to see if they would contribute to repairing that, since it serves their property. And our general manager will be meeting with their general manager to discuss this project. But as a result of the cleaning operations, we think we took off a little too much of the corrosion so that we could reduce the likelihood of the grease sticking to the pipeline, and that may have contributed to the 2 defects popping up and shortly after we left that job. And it's been happening ever since. Yeah, sure, please. This is a small hole. Now that hole is probably about 1.5 inches or so in diameter, and you'll see how it's kind of a spraying in. I call that a little shower.
That's groundwater spraying in?
Yes, that is groundwater spraying into our sewer pipe.
That's a small one. Wait till you see the big one.
This is a 10-inch ductile iron pipe. All that brown stuff is brown corrosion. The reason why it's white colored on the bottom is because there's usually water running in the bottom of the pipeline.
Reline that?
Yeah, we will hire the budget provides for a dig and replace if we're gonna be, if we're unsuccessful at lining it, but I'm hoping that we can line this sewer. We're working with 3 contractors right now, but there, right there is I'll call it a gusher coming in. So that from about 12 o'clock to about 4 o'clock position, that we refer to it as a waterfall, but it is a gusher coming into our sewer pipe. And that's probably as much wastewater as South Coast Plaza generates in a day is coming out of that one hole right there.
What's that little thing at the bottom?
That is a cleaning nozzle from our vacuum truck. And what we do is we're using the camera to chase it so that we can get the camera in and take a look at this defect. We weren't able to get in because there was so much debris. That white stuff is a combination of grease and rust. But we'll be able, if we can line it, the lining contractor will be able to remove all of that before they put the liner in.
Does the liner go in while the the water coming in doesn't affect it?
Um,
I'm sure it has some effect.
Yeah, well, if we're able, if the contractor believes, contractors, we're actually talking to 3 of them, if they believe they can line this, Robotic Solutions will have to go in with about a 20-inch liner, and they will inflate I'll call it their balloon. They will do a UV cure, and it won't completely shut this water off, but it will make it so then the main lining contractor come in and line the entire 20 feet of, clean it and then line that piece of pipeline. So we're gonna put a patch, and then we come back and line the whole thing. Now the camera's gonna try to look backwards at the waterfall here. So he's downstream, I'll say he's downstream of the waterfall or the big gusher, and he's looking back now at that to see if he can, what it looks like.
Was the film from South Coast Plaza?
No, this is our staff went out and filmed that last week during the nighttime and went in there and cleaned it and put the camera in the pipeline. Yes, it is. We have an easement and we have a pump station within our easement, and we serve that whole, I'll call it, system over there. So we own a pump station, a force main, and they discharge into our pump station.
Need a recommendation from us to approve this?
Yes, what I'm asking for this evening is for the Board of Directors, number 1, make the 23-24 capital outlay budget adjustments as detailed in the chart in the financial section of my report. Number 2, create a new project, number 354 Eldon fan replacement project with a budget of $110,000. And number 3, create a new project number 355 SCP sewer urgent capital repair project with a budget of $120,000. That concludes my report. Are there any other questions or discussions? Yes.
Do you want one question, or do you want?
I'll take any questions you would like to ask me, ma'am.
I didn't.
One motion.
One motion?
Oh, yes, one motion for all 3 items, please.
Okay.
Mr. President, would you like to accept
So
public
I
comment
move
first before we
approval
take action? Public comments? You want to
All
accept
the-
public comments?
Wait a minute.
Pardon?
Hold on. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Make sure you fill out the little green. I've been consistent with that tonight, but go ahead.
For your flexibility tonight. The question I had is, if this was private property, and I believe you clarified that it might be on private property, but we're fixing private property because we think we damaged private?
No, this is our pump station and our pipeline within that property. That we have an easement and we have rights to be on that private property.
Thank you.
This isn't someone's lateral that we're working on. This is our stuff.
I think that was what confused me because of we were in that easement, and I was concerned because I thought maybe we were fixing private property to help mitigate issues on private property, but it sounds like it is the district's
Yeah, it's
facilities that are
it's the
being.
district's facilities, and I did mention that, and where maybe the confusing part of it, I mentioned that our general manager will meeting with the general manager at South Coast Plaza. And that's because we've had this very good relationship. They provide us power as one of the conditions of us being there. And so with the good relationship, we're approaching them to see about cost sharing for this repair.
Thank you so much.
This pump station was built by South Coast Plaza and the sewer line was built by whoever constructed it. Then it was deeded over to the district. And so that time they gave us the easement, both around the pump station and for this particular pipeline.
I move approval of this project. And please count in with this, all the different items that are listed that we asked for.
Motion, anybody second?
I'll second the motion.
Discussion?
Just, sorry,
No, it's all right.
just one question on the Geeser project that we're transferring. Can you just high level overview of how that's available or your recommendation?
Yeah, we designed that project about 2 years or so ago. We started talking, and when we were starting to come up with the engineer's estimate, we contacted an estimator because at that point in time, as you recall, we were coming out of the pandemic and construction prices were hitting all-time highs, and they were changing like every hour. It seemed like they would change, go up some more. So we worked with a project estimator, and that project estimator basically developed the budget or the bid estimate as though he were a contractor, and we have all the detail, but it turns out instead of a $200,000 or $300,000 project, that was more like $1 million project. And so we didn't have enough money in the budget back then to proceed with that project, so we placed it on hold. We do plan to replace that force main at some point in time, but unfortunately, we've had already this year at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 projects that were not planned. And after talking with Mike Benish of RBH, and earlier in the year, talking with our wastewater superintendent, it looks like that project, we've got a little bit of wiggle room on as far as the timing for that project. And so we decided, since we were short money anyway in the budget, and we couldn't do that, so leaving the $1 million or $900,000, we would use that to pay for some of these unforeseen projects. And that way we could keep the budget, I will say, at the current budget level.
Taking what I call dead money and moving it to mission critical
Yeah.
that we can get done and need to get done right now versus coming up with new budgetary things for Geeser. So yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Mark, anything, Mark Davis, anything for us from the treasurer tonight?
Nothing this evening, Mr. President.
Counselor. It's all yours, bud.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have something tonight. As the council is aware, and maybe the public would want to know, the board met in closed session to review the general manager, his performance. Then they met separately in closed session to provide the president with authority to negotiate an increase in compensation. The president and the general manager met and reached a tentative agreement, which will be before you tonight. Under the Brown Act as amended by the Bell scandal, we have to do an oral report before you approve any general manager contract. It has to be on a regular agenda. So tonight we have 2 items for you. We have a report of the tentative agreement reached between the general manager and the president. And then when I report on what the terms of those are, then you can vote on the main contract, the written contract for your general manager. So the oral report of the executive compensation is the the parties have reached an agreement for a 5% increase. This would raise the annual salary to $231,484, which is a increase per year in salary of $11,066. And this would be retroactive to January 4th. This constitutes the oral report required by the Brown Act. You are now free to consider the general manager's contract if there are no questions.
Now, this amount you've given us now corrects the mistake that you pointed out the other day.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the real number.
Yes, so the correction was when I shared my salary with other general manager salaries, my salary was incorrect, so
Okay,
I learned about it when district council was preparing the amendment, and so I gave you the correct amount last week.
discussion on the contract for the general manager.
Second.
Second, any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion to approve the contract with the stated increase is approved unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your diligence and hard work. Anything else, Alan, for us this evening?
Mr. President, thank you.
I'd like to ask you a question about what transpired earlier, but I'm not sure we can discuss that now. Is that right?
You could probably ask a brief question, but I'll have to research all of the things she raised in what she said.
I guess I'm more concerned about the process. If you could update us before the study session. or
Before
whatever,
the study session, you
about
get a
the process.
process.
I'm just,
Yeah.
more than anything, I want to know what the process is and what's going to happen. Okay.
and can I follow up with just one thing on the process since, it was pointed out, a hearing was held and it was what that means since there was already a hearing held in front of the board minus me and how that plays into this process.
I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Local meetings. Bob, you want to start with the Sand District?
Yeah, actually, the Sand District Board meeting will be next week. But a lot of the things that happened in the Operations Committee meeting, we discussed major rehab projects, and we did get and we began to discuss the lengthy item was the massive budget that Orange County Sand District does. So staff presents little snippets of it monthly, to alert the board. That's mainly what we did. There was a lengthy closed session. They have several items with employees, and I think that's it.
Zarfa, anything?
Meeting is Thursday. I'll be attending.
Anything from ISDOT, Arlene, to report?
Yeah. You're fortunate because I left it at home. But I can tell you the meetings I went to.
Well, specifically ISDOT though, were you at ISDOT?
I went to ISDOC.
Give us a
And
brief
then,
report on that one.
okay, then Waco and CSDA. I was on what do you call it?
Zoom?
Zoom, thank you. On that, and at these meetings, interesting to say that the machine was not working right, and I thought it was me, but I could hear everything. I know all about it, and I have it all written down for you, but I couldn't talk to anybody. So what happened was, I've had it fixed now.
Right.
But I did go to the meetings and they saw me there, but that's it.
I know people kept saying your name and you were not responding, and I get figured out.
They
Why
should-
don't you, if you can just do brief recaps of both of those and give them to Nolani, and she can include them in next
Sure.
month's notes. Let's do
Sure.
it that way. Okay? No, don't worry about it. SDRMA, I came from our board meeting this afternoon at SDRMA. We had a board meeting today with Safety Day tomorrow. So I'm gonna miss Safety Day tomorrow, darn. And at the board meeting today, I guess, Diana, for your edification, we did approve, I think it was the property and liability rate. Workers' comp rate is not finalized yet. And we're looking at probably about a 12% increase for this year. And everybody breathed a sigh of relief at 12%. Except the only insurance agent on the board. But based on what I can do with insurance nowadays, 12%, I wish I could get a 12% increase. We did have reports from both the workers' comp and the property and liability brokers, and workers' comp is, I think we're gonna see okay with workers' comp. One of the things they talked about, which frankly, I will be opposed to at SDRMA, is they're talking about going to an experience modification in property and liability. And I think under California insurance law, I think that's illegal. And so I don't think we should apply an experience mod on property and liability because that's why you have insurance, right? So I'll keep you posted on it. That was really the gist of the meeting this afternoon. We did approve. Funny, we're giving money away like crazy too. We approved a generous increase to our CEO. He had his 1-year evaluation and things are going okay.
Your new one?
Yeah, we just gave him a nice raise. And that was really, there was nothing else other, I wanted to make sure you knew that 12% is probably what we're looking at. Other meetings, anybody else have any other meetings? Okay,
I'll
seeing.
turn mine in after I go to the meetings on Thursday.
That's okay. Speaking of meetings, am I correct? And I couldn't find my calendar. I know I have it. In May, the board meeting is a week earlier because of Memorial Day. Is that right? We'll meet on the 20th. Okay.
What about date for April's meeting? Is it still the 29th? Okay, good. Good.
Where are you going?
I got a golf, big golf. And St. Margaret's that day.
Okay, any other meetings?
Madam President, for the month of May, we moved the meeting to Tuesday, the 28th.
In May and Tuesday, the 28th? Okay,
May,
yeah, me too. Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Anything else? All right, director's comment or oral communications and director's comments, anything from staff? Any other items? Thank you all for your hard work. Directors?
we had a solid waste ad hoc meeting. Yeah, and the main item, or one of the items, and then had lengthy discussion was the finding process for residents, who don't comply with the food waste, I believe. So what I would recommend is that we have in the next study session, a review of that process. It's quite a long process with a lot of notifications and things, but there was quite a lot of discussion on that particular item, so.
When are you guys gonna meet again? Do you have that planned?
We'll try to work that out.
Okay, because I think it's important because, we have the 1383 coming up fast. We got to make sure we're on top of it.
Anything else from anybody? All right, then if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting to our April 22nd date. Thank you all.
Happy about